Boda Box. This is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. And if you do want to call in and give us your thoughts on the Chiefs' 23-14 victory over the Houston Texans, you can do so at 913-381-0810. That's 913-381-0810. We will be sure to get to your thoughts here shortly. Well, I'm not sure what the confidence level was for everybody out there. I think the majority of people that I talked to this week, there was probably on a scale of 1 to 10, the confidence level at 8 or 9 that the Chiefs could win this game comfortably. You like the matchup going back to December 21st. The Chiefs had 23 days of rest. Speaking of the starters, having that 23 days of rest, they had basically become 100% healthy for guys that were dealing with some sort of issue. But they were at home, they're healthy, they're rested. Houston, a little bit banged up from their win over the Chargers the week before. It felt like it was the perfect matchup on paper. And that's why a lot of people out there had that type of confidence, that the Chiefs could win this game by double digits. You wouldn't have to be worrying about too much in the fourth quarter. Wasn't really the case tonight. But the Chiefs won a muddied-up football game, as they'd done the majority of the 2024-2025 season. I don't think there was anything spectacular about the offensive performance other than the vintage connection between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I mean, if you thought Travis Kelce was nearing the end of his career and he wasn't going to be able to put up big-time numbers in the postseason, boy, were you wrong. Today, Travis Kelce goes 7 for 117 and a touchdown. Nobody else in the Chiefs receiving corps had over 50 yards receiving. It was pretty much Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce for the majority of this game. And that was enough to get it done. I mean, as I said, 7 catches for Travis Kelce. Patrick Mahomes only had 16 completions in this one. Mahomes went 16 of 25 for 177 yards, a touchdown, no picks, quarterback rating of 98.3. He was sacked 3 times, so Houston's defensive front, as was expected going into this game, was able to get some pretty good pressure on Patrick Mahomes. But now Kansas City awaits the winner of tomorrow's colossal showdown between Baltimore and Buffalo. They did what they needed to do in this game. And don't get me wrong, there is going to be some talk this week about controversial calls, this and that, late hit, unnecessary roughness, Patrick Mahomes flopping. I mean, what's really new when you're watching a Chiefs game? If you're a Chiefs fan and that annoys you, I would just try to say you don't let it bother you anymore, because that's just the reality of the situation. You're under a microscope. And I do believe that those calls today, especially the one in the second half, I think it was, where the two Texans players collided, Patrick Mahomes was sliding down, he slid late, got the unnecessary roughness. I don't think that needed to be called, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the Texans had multiple opportunities in this game to make it more interesting than 23-14. I mean, Ka'imi Fairbairn was borderline, and maybe not even borderline, but unplayable in this game. A missed 55-yarder. I can't harp on it too much because of the win today at Arrowhead. A missed PAT that drastically shifted the momentum in this one. When the Texans had the ball for damn near the entire third quarter, they get to 12 points. They're down by 1 against Kansas City after the Joe Mixon rushing touchdown, and then Fairbairn misses the PAT. It felt like the life got sucked out of Houston at that point in time. And even though the Chiefs didn't really dominate after that, Houston had a catastrophic mistake with pretty much everything they did the remaining part of this game. Remaining parts. I mean, Ka'imi Fairbairn has the missed 55-yarder. He has the missed PAT. He gets his final kick of the season blocked by Leo Chanel, though Justin Reid was the one, basically storming off the edge. It was a bad day for the Houston Texans special teams. And it was a bad day, in my opinion, for C.J. Stroud, dare I say. I didn't think he was that impressive. The final stat line's not really going to tell you that. He was 19 of 28, 245 yards, but no touchdowns. Didn't have any turnovers in this one, a quarterback rating of 95.1. But I just wasn't overly impressed with C.J. Stroud in this one. I thought there were some opportunities in this game for C.J. Stroud to show that he could go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. Now, he was limping around the field with a bad foot, a bad ankle, whatever they were calling it. But I thought there were some key moments in that game where C.J. Stroud could have taken the ball and said, this is my team. I know we're the underdog, but we're going to pull off the stunner tonight. I thought there were a couple possessions there where you needed one or two really big plays from C.J. Stroud, and he couldn't get it done. And maybe the last breath for Houston, even though it wasn't their final possession, was that egregious decision to go for it on 4th and 10, but the play clock winding down. I'm curious what D'Amico Ryans is going to say in the postgame for that, but to rush into a play like that at that point in the game, that felt like malpractice. That felt like an egregious mistake by Houston, and that's what I think you can chalk it up for the Texans. Were there missed calls? Absolutely. But you're not going to win too many games at Arrowhead scoring really 12 points. I mean, you had the gifted 2 at the very end there because Kansas City basically just handed you it, running it out of the back of the end zone. So 12 total points. Missed calls and all. 12 points and 1 touchdown in the missed PAT is not going to be enough to beat a playoff version of Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. And I would be remiss in not bringing up the defensive effort for Kansas City tonight. And I specifically want to highlight the play of George Karlaftis, a 3-sack game, and the Chiefs' defensive front had 8 on the night. They were around C.J. Stroud. It felt like every single time he dropped back, winning those one-on-ones. Chris Jones winning some double teams. Even George Karlaftis winning some of those one-on-ones and double teams. Very impressive stuff. Steve Spagnuolo dialed up a couple of great blitzes. Justin Reed getting involved. Shamari Connor getting involved. I thought the secondary play, and how about Jalen Watson? His first game back since San Francisco, and I thought he really held his own. He looked like the Jalen Watson of old. Trent McDuffie was nails on Nico Collins. The defense did everything they were supposed to come away victorious in this one. Harrison Butker, a little bit of nerves, I think, among the fan base going into a game like this because of how he had looked to close out the regular season. But he was 100% today. He looked like the Harrison Butker of old. It had only been a few weeks since coming back from the injury that he wasn't really Harrison Butker. But tonight, he was playoff Harry. He was knocking down the big kicks when the Chiefs needed him to. And like I said to open up the show, it's not flashy. Nothing about this win tonight screams dominance. I think that it's going to be almost a foregone conclusion that the winner of Buffalo and Baltimore tomorrow night is going to be the favorite for next week's game. Is going to be the national media's favorite as well. I mean, the way Buffalo and Baltimore have been playing, they've been so dominant offensively. The defenses have been getting better. And Kansas City, as they've done the majority of the regular season, just skating by. But in the postseason, it doesn't matter. Win this game 3-0 for all I care. 23-14, 70-10, it doesn't matter. You just advance. And for the 7th consecutive time, the Kansas City Chiefs are going to the AFC Championship game, and they're going to be back at home, as it should be. And Patrick Mahomes has never lost before the AFC Championship game. And he'll have another opportunity next week to get back to the Super Bowl, which would be the 5th in his career in a quest for a three-peat, doing something no team has ever done before. Phone lines are open at 913-381-0810. That's 913-381-0810. Let's get to some of your thoughts, and we're going to kick things off here with Gary. If I do get the thumbs up here from Dylan, if we're able to go to the phone lines here. Let's actually pause on that real quick. We do have Patrick Mahomes down on the sideline. Then we're going to get to your thoughts here. We got 3 callers waiting to give us their opinions on the Chiefs' 23-14 victory over the Houston Texans. But first things first, let's hear from Patrick Mahomes, who was down on the sideline with Lisa Salters.
Patrick, heading to your seventh consecutive AFC Championship game. How's that sound to you?
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, that's the goal is just to continue to move on in the playoffs, and that was a good team football win. We got to be better offensively in some situations, but you get a win, and that's all you want at the end of the day.
You have a lot of time off before this game. Just how much did rust play into it, especially early?
I don't think it was rust. That's a good defense, and to score 23 points against them, that's a really good team. So I'm not going to use that excuse as rust. We came out there, we battled, we found ways to get points, and we're going to be even better going into this next week.
What role did Travis Kelce play into getting things going offensively?
Yeah, I mean, you know 8-7 is going to show up whenever it's a big-time moment, and he did that. I mean, everybody was asking, where's Travis Kelce at? I think he showed the world where he's at.
You've said all year that your defense has played big in big moments. Just how did they do that tonight, especially George Karlaftis with 3 sacks?
Yeah, no, I mean, we have a full football team. That's what makes us so special is it's not just one guy, it's the entire unit. And we all believe in each other that we're going to go out there and make the play. And guys like George, guys like Felix, they made plays all day long and held a good offense to only 14 points.
Win number 300 for Coach Reid. Just what does it mean to you that you helped him get there?
Yeah, I mean, I know that means a lot to him. 300 wins is crazy, but I think he's trying to get to 302 at the end of this year.
Good luck the rest of the way to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Joe.
And that was Patrick Mahomes after the game with Lisa Salters. Yeah, I mean, what more can you say about Travis Kelce? At this stage in his career, you aren't asking for those 120, 130-yard performances. I mean, you're certainly not. You can't expect that every single Sunday, every single performance. But Travis Kelce did that. Travis Kelce was the reason the Chiefs won this game tonight. Now, I do want to throw George Karlaftis in there as well, because to have 3 sacks on the defensive side of the ball, phenomenal. But Travis Kelce, when you've got that focus on you, when people are worried about you, and you still put together a performance like that, that's one for the ages. Let's jump on the phone lines here and go to Gary. Gary, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show.
How you doing tonight?
Well, pretty good. How about yourself?
Well, sitting on the edge of my seat most of the night, but pretty happy. Just a few observations. In this time of year, it is survive in advance, but you do see a lot of things that are kind of concerning. You've got to have another receiver step up. Xavier Worthy was the only receiver that caught a ball tonight. Brown had the one go through his hands on that, but DeAndre Hopkins is a great receiver. We need more from him than that. That wasn't Darrell Green and Deion Sanders over there at corners. They're good corners, but they're not world beaters. They're not Sanders and Darrell Green. Defensively, we need more from our linebackers. They were getting gashed in the run game. The linebackers tonight, these linebackers just lack the athleticism and speed that we lost when Willie Gay left. I think they gave the wrong linebacker the contract and Drew Tranquil because he is so – him and Chenal should be playing inside. He's not an outside linebacker. He's too stiff and slow to be playing on the outside. They need more because if that first level doesn't make a play, it's a first down guaranteed. Mixon was running the ball on him at will. And there's a lot of things that defense need to clean up. Yeah, they kept him out of the end zone. Thank God for the pass rush tonight because that secondary, too, they had one receiver, and those guys were running wide open. That's on Spagnuolo. He's got to tighten that coverage. You got to start pressing those receivers, disrupting those routes because you can't let receivers run wide open like that, making plays against you, especially when you're down that many guys. It's just you were outplayed. But offensively, though, they did take care of the ball. They did not turn the football over, which is huge. But going into next week, there's a lot of things to clean up. And the good thing is you're not going to see either team that has 2 great corners. So we should see more out of those receivers next week. It wasn't the play calling. It was just an overall lack of execution. Nobody wanted to step up on the receiving end. Thank God for Travis Kelce. 3 years ago, that's a touchdown for Kelce on the long run. he got caught, but hey, we'll take it. It's surviving fans, but those issues on defense, they've got to clean those up. I'll hang up and listen. Great show.
Hey, appreciate the phone call, Gary. And, I don't think there's too much to pick apart tonight with the defense. At least I'm not going to. I understand what you're saying there with, not being able to defend the run in that long drive that Houston had. A couple of chunk yardage plays for them. Nico Collins did get open down the field a few times. Dalton Schultz did as well. But I thought Trent McDuffie, when he was on Nico Collins, was damn good. The linebacking core, yeah, I guess you could have a couple of better plays, a couple of better snaps here and there. But, overwhelmingly, the defense, I just give credit to the pass rush tonight because the pass rush made it so difficult for Houston in this one to operate normally, to operate in the way that they needed to win this game at Arrowhead. Simply put, the Texans were not good enough offensively. They didn't have good enough protection. And as much as Joe Mixon maybe frustrated you as a Chiefs fan, getting some of those 5, 6, 7-yard runs, he didn't do enough in this game to win it. That's what I walk away with. I think the Chiefs' defense did their job. Now, Dylan, you said you had a point to make before we'll hear from Kareem Hunt here in his sideline interview right after the game. So what you got for me?
Well, my thing was the Hollywood Brown catch is not a catch, but Dalton Schultz caught the football.
I know, right?
So that's where I'm kind of at with
that.
And
Yeah.
That was the point. When he brought that up with Hollywood just having a miss. But, I think the receivers did all right. Also, Kelsey went off, so
Yeah.
he's a receiving tight end, and he is a part of the game plan, and he's maybe the focal point of a defensive game plan. So the fact that he was basically one of his best nights in the postseason after people had written him off is massive.
That was his best performance of the year, and I think that was better than any performance he gave last year, maybe next to Buffalo.
I'm saying it's up there with a lot of his.
I think the one that will maybe never be topped was that divisional round game against Houston.
Right.
When they were down 24-0, had 3 touchdowns in one quarter.
But that's all the way at the beginning of this thing.
Exactly, and that's why with Travis Kelce, I would love to sit here and say, well, you need more from D-Hop, you need more from Hollywood, and I don't think they could beat Buffalo or Baltimore with both those guys.
D-Hop was open on a slant, and Mahomes threw it behind him.
He was. There was a bad pass from Patrick Mahomes. There was a couple of times, too, in the first half that Mahomes missed an open receiver.
Yeah.
Or Kelce a couple times was wide open, and I think that comes back to the lack of trust in the offensive line.
Haven't played a game in almost
23 days for these guys. There's a couple different factors there, but at this stage of the season, when you're in the postseason, yes, I think we could nitpick things here and there. We could bring up flaws with this team, but the playoffs are just a different beast. Some of the issues they had tonight may not be issues next week, and some of the things that came easy to them may not come as easy next week against either Baltimore or Buffalo. Real quickly, want to hear from Kareem Hunt, who is down on the sideline with Westwood One, and then after our break, might get to some more player audio and your thoughts as well after the Chiefs take down the Houston Texans 23-14 in the AFC Divisional round. Here is Kareem Hunt.
Every day just hoping to get a chance. I didn't have a training camp. I didn't have OTAs, none of that. I just, worked my butt off with my track coach, Matt Luck.
With your track coach, I love that. Well, you have a way of finding the end zone in every postseason game. Did you know that 5 postseason games you've scored in every one? What little magic do you bring to the playoffs?
I just got to thank the man above, man. Honestly, I just work hard every day, and if I get the opportunity to get around the end zone, I'm going to make sure I finish it. So I'm grateful for being healthy and being able to find that end zone.
Obviously, this is your second run with the Chiefs, but last time Patrick Mahomes wasn't here. What's it like being with playoff Pat?
It was great. Patrick Mahomes was here, but Alex Smith was here too. So, it's great to, see him in his element, man. He's a winner. He's a heck of a player. That touchdown pass, honestly, I don't think any other quarterback could have made that pass falling down like that.
You guys faced a lot of adversity this season on offense, especially with the injuries and even 4 starting left tackles, and there was just a lot to contend with. How have you made it this far, and how are you even healthier and better than ever right now?
Honestly, I say the culture, man. We find a way to win, and no matter what, it's next man up. Everybody has to do their job, and, we got guys in the building who can do that.
Good luck next week. 7th straight AFC championship for this Chiefs team. First one for you back here. That's pretty cool.
That's amazing, man. I'm so happy.
Thank you, Kareem.
And great for Kareem Hunt. because
I'm glad she added that in.
Yes,
that was awesome.
He missed out on all of those great seasons. And right as the Chiefs were on the come-up, right as Patrick Mahomes was taking off, is when Kareem Hunt was let go from the organization because of that incident in Cleveland, I believe. And now he gets the opportunity again to shine on the biggest of stages. And he was the leading rusher tonight for Kansas City. He had 8 carries for 44 yards and a touchdown. So good for Kareem Hunt there. Very impressive. And the fact that he gets to enjoy this, I think makes a lot of players in that locker room very happy for him. And I think for a lot of fans out there, happy to see him again in a Chiefs uniform. We are going to take a quick break here. We will come back and get to the final 4 calls that we have on the text line, and then we are going to hear from a couple of Chiefs players that are at the podium. You are listening to the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. the game brought to you by Central Bank of the Midwest. And you were tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is brought to you by Boda Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Vineyards, Manteca, California. Going to go back to the phone lines and get to your thoughts after the Chiefs' 23-14 win over the Houston Texans for the 7th consecutive time. They've advanced to the AFC title game. They will await the winner of the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. They will kick off tomorrow night. So going to hop on the phone lines and hear from Rodney. Rodney, you're on the Red and Gold Postgame Show, my man.
Thank you for taking my call.
Of course, man.
So, in your opening, you said the Chiefs win another muddy game. I think in this game, they the one who brought the dirt in the water. They muddied this game up.
Absolutely.
I think that was part of their game planning. I know a lot of people can nitpick about that offense. If you nitpick about the offense, you're disrespecting the Houston Texans defense.
Mm-hmm.
In that first quarter, I don't think people realize how fast all 11 of those guys are. One, they are not that big. So if they're not that big, I mean they have speed. They try to run a screen with Xavier Worthy, and you saw a defensive tackle run him down. Come on now, Daniil Hunter, was 5 yards behind near Patrick Mahomes and ran down Kareem Hunt. Come on now. These guys are fast. So I respect the Houston Texans defense. I'm not giving them that credit. But it also, I know some people are going to talk about the wide receivers. Once you look at film, look at the all-22, the Houston Texans were shutting down anything going deep. If you see Xavier Worthy motion, it's either the corner is motioning with them or that deep safety is moving with them. He was not going deep. And the one time they allowed him to go deep, he got burned. The corner got burned, and Mahomes made him pay for it. Other than that, D'Amico Ryan said, forget it. No, everything is going to go short. Somebody else is going to have to beat us because we cannot let number one beat us deep. Or Mahomes is going to keep chucking it downfield. So, also, on Kelsey's deep run, look how that play developed. It looked like it was an easy screen going to the left on a trip bunch set. That whole entire secondary went right over there, and Kelsey breaked in wide open. Kelsey's going to get it because you see how the defense is being played out. I guarantee you that wasn't the play. That wasn't the play call, but Kelsey saw the space wide open. So I think there was a lot of improvisation on the offense that saved them. So I'm going to give Matt Nagy some grace on that point. But I'm going to also go into when the defensive coordinator said enough is enough. Steve Spagnuolo said enough is enough. Playing a soft zone, and people got upset. Well, Nico Collins was getting open. Well, he only got open when he was going up against a safety. It wasn't Reed or Cooks. It was going up against Roland Wallace. So you took Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, who was locking down the outside, clearly locking down that outside, and they was picking on the guys on the inside. But as soon as Nico Collins came in and Trent McDuffie went to him, it was a wrap for him. He couldn't get nothing. So it was easy to pick on Christian Roland Wallace or Jamari Conner, which I think he should go ahead and think about putting some weight on and go as an edge rusher. Let's just try it out. Try a new position as a wide 11 and just rush the edge off from the slot. But it was easy to try to pick on who you want to pick on that defense. It's either you're going to pick on Jamari Conner on a pass or Roland Wallace because you're not going after Watson or McDuffie. But that defense, we had enough. We had enough of it. And George Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie will be expensive. But I think Leo Chanel is going to be the most expensive special team player in the league. 2 blocked field goals, short field goals, not a long one. 2 pretty decent field goal blocks. Come on now. Now, 1 was great. 2 is impossible. 2 is very much impossible. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, I appreciate the phone call, Rodney. It's a credit to Dave Tobe. It's a credit to these guys being in the right position at the right time. I mean, Justin Reid absolutely timed up the snap perfectly. You could not do it any better. And even though Justin Reid wasn't the one that got a paw on it, it was Leo Chenal that was able to jump high enough to knock down the kick from Kaimi Fairbairn and ultimately knock out the Houston Texans in the postseason. But that's just the timing that they have down. It's stuff they've been practicing all season long, not just this week. I mean, going into that Denver game when they had the block as time expired, that was something they tried to exploit all week long in practice. And I'm sure leading up to this game against Houston, there was a focus in one of these times being able to time up the snap perfectly and block one of those kicks. And fortunately for Kansas City, it wasn't a kick that was going to win Houston the game or anything like that, but it did ice it when it was all said and done. Let's go back to the phone lines here and go to Kyle. Kyle, what's on your mind?
Hey, thank you for taking my call. Great show like always. 3 points I would like to make. With the wide receivers, I'm not going to be too critical because if these wide receivers, it reminds me of when we had, Hill and Watkins and those guys. Our offense is not as explosive like it once was with those guys. But here's the thing, though: you have weapons. And when you have weapons and when you have multiple weapons like Hollywood Brown, Hopkins, Worthy, those guys are going to be covered. And who does that leave open? Travis Kelce, because the cornerback, because the defense is going to try to keep away from going to the deep ball, and then that leaves Kelce to do his stuff. So that's point number one. Number two, the defensive line. Absolutely amazing tonight. They were getting pressure on Stroud. I don't think Stroud had there was only maybe a couple times where he had time to throw the ball, but most of the time it was Karloff. Everybody was getting in on the sacks. Karloftis, Chris Jones, Jimenez, I think Zamba got in there maybe once or twice, but everybody on that defensive line was contributing. So I got to give credit to the defensive line, which they have done good all year, but they have gotten really the defense was outstanding tonight. Third point I would like to make, though, and this is just one criticizing, when we blocked the field goal, or no, not the blocked field goal, when Fairbairn missed one of the field goal that put us at I want to say that gave us good field position, or was it the sack by Karloftis that gave us good field position? No, it was the Karloftis sack that gave us good field position there, kind of like I want to say with 6 or 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and we were up 20. We still had 20. It was still 20-12, and we had 3 plays where we ran the ball for 1 yard. Then we did a screen pass that didn't go anywhere, and then we threw an incomplete pass to Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't know what type of play calling that was. It looked like that was conservative. I was hoping the Chiefs would capitalize on that Karloftis sack and just go down and score a touchdown and ice the game. But instead, they do these. That's what drives me nuts is when you have an opportunity to have good field position just to put a team away, and then you just do these. It's conservative. That bothers me the most. I understand Andy Reid's the best head coach, but what bothers me is that when you have a chance to put a team away big, you don't do it, and that's something that needs to be. I think that needs to be said. So I'll listen off the air, but thank you so much for taking my call.
Of course, and good points as always, Kyle. I do think that when we look back on this game, there's a variety of things that we can take away. One, I think this will be remembered as a Travis Kelce-like performance, but the defense and George Karloftis, man, it really does feel like they stole the show. I know I said Travis Kelce was the reason this team won the game, but you can't say that and then completely disregard how damn good the defensive front was tonight. 8 sacks, also 14 pressures. Saw that from Pete Sweeney as we have the Arrowhead Pride radio show every single week. We'll have plenty to talk about in regards to the defense coming up this week and leading you into the AFC title game. But 8 sacks, 14 quarterback pressures. Just a phenomenal job by the defensive front of Kansas City tonight. Back to the phone lines, and we're going to hear from Raymond. Raymond, you're on the Red and Gold postgame show.
I actually thought that George Karoflis was going to be better the 2 weeks whenever he rested, because George Karoflis, when last game he played, he wanted more. You got to feel about it. You don't just stutter like the other guy did, this and all that. You got to know that we lose it 38-0. You got to know the Chiefs are going to win. You got to know who Mahomes is. You got to know who Kelsey is. You got to know your defense. He's a lot better than Chris Jones. George Karoflis stole the show. Chris Jones is acting like he's all tired and stuff. How about Chanel when he gets over there and blocks every kick? Yes, we are the good. We are number one in the world every single day. It don't matter if Kelsey's on the team or off the team. You got to know who's playing. And I'm not stuttering like every other two guys. This guy did this and this guy did that. No, we did do our job. But you got to know that last 2 weeks we've been off. You got to know how defense plays. You got to know how offense plays. You got to know that Kelsey is wanted it more because he's wide open because it's 38-0. You got to know how our players are. You don't just go in there and talk about, this, and this, when you don't get on the field and do it yourself. Those guys that just talk on the radio, they don't know nothing. They're not no Jim Rome people.
All right. Well, appreciate the call, Raymond, and
a lot of positivity from Raymond there.
Hey, at the end of the day, the phone lines, everybody's gonna have their opinion. Don't worry, we'll allow you to get your opinion in there. And give your thoughts, whether it be after a win or after a loss. And the Chiefs tonight, I feel like for the most part, too, there's not one main part that we are going to highlight and say it was detrimental to this team. I don't think there was one thing that I would say, if that happens again, really other than the receivers.
Honestly, the positive callers are the best callers. Please, like Kyle, Rodney, everyone, please. You were great callers.
We don't want to ruffle any feathers, that's for sure. But I would say tonight after the game, if they get that type of performance from Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins in the AFC title game, I think it would be detrimental to this team. But I also think if they get 117 to 120 from Travis Kelce in the AFC title game, it's going to go a long way as well. That could be good enough to beat a Baltimore or a Buffalo. Can you have goose eggs, though, from two of your top receivers? Probably not. I think you do need a little bit more. But that leads me back to my point of you just don't think there was one thing too detrimental. All right, let's go to the podium real quick and hear from Chris Jones.
Don't get too high. Next game, they're going to be planning for you, buddy. But we can continue to build off of that. That's something to be positive about. But it was exciting just to watch it. I've had two teammates that have those type of games in the playoff, Frank Clark and George Karoflis. So for me, it's been amazing to be part of it.
What does it mean for you that the unit was able to get to the quarterback 14 times, the 14 quarterback hits, and then finish with the 8 sacks?
I think that was huge. I think it was it's definitely going to go on the bigs. I think Coach Reid talked about it all week on how important that the bigs, meaning the O-line and the D-line, play this game physical and set the tone of the game. And I think we took that to heart and came out and played physical and was able to affect the game.
Chris, can you take us through your first sack? I mean, it seemed like, were you choosing there on your own to be on the edge, and just take us through the play there?
No, I just don't choose to be where I want to be. Listen, y'all got to stop listening. Y'all got to stop listening to Space. Yeah, that play I did choose to. I did, man. I seen the opportunity, watched film on it all week, and figured why not.
Chris, could you take me through just what the feeling was, the experience when you won in 2018 to go to the AFC Championship, and how that feeling might be different, or gives you better appreciation for this one?
Every feeling and every journey is different because what you have to go through within the journey. 2018. I think that was our first time getting there, right? Yeah, and you think about the battles we faced along the way to get there. We lost an AFC Championship to the Patriots. and then had to overcome that and finally get there and then win. So I think this is different because it's a different type of journey. We've been there a couple times, but now we're even hungrier to even get there now because what's at stake, you know what I mean? 3P, getting there, playing in front of our fans again. So it's different, but the journey is still the same. We still want to bring the Lamar Hunt Trophy back home.
Chris, how do you focus as much as you need to in these games? If you just said you're going for a 3P, nothing's ever done in Super Bowl, in Super Bowl era, and you have a game like today where it's not in hand until late in the fourth quarter. How do you keep that focus while also knowing in the back of your head, hey, we are now 2 wins away from doing something that's good?
I don't think you think about within the game how many wins away are you. I think you think about the drive, what you can do better, what you can correct on the next drive. But it's not hard to focus on the game. If you're not focused out there, you can get beat easily. So I think it's easy to focus within the game, be present within the moment, and appreciate the moment, most importantly.
I know you're doing your own thing on the sideline. This big third down play, goal, when Patrick hit Travis and was falling down. You were watching the scoreboard again, watching the game. What's your advantage for that?
We did it again. Pat and Trav did it again, man. It's just when you think you got them, you don't. So, yeah, we need more plays like that. We'll take them.
Your rookie year, you have the playoff heartbreak. The next year happens again. Now you've been 7th straight AFC. You're going to be in your 7th straight AFC championship game. I mean, is that unfathomable to you? I mean, how do you put that in context?
Getting old. It's fun though, man. It's fun. It's a challenge. Take a lot. Hard work, commitment, a lot of belief, a lot of encouragement throughout the year, a lot of unselfish play amongst the team to continue to do that. I think we had this message in chapel about climbing the mountaintop. When you climb a mountain, you don't want to stay up there because you can't really breathe. So you go back down, but the joy is that you climb in the mountain to get to the top. And I think that's just the journey we're going. Still climbing that mountain and appreciating it for what it is.
Speaking of appreciating it, you were teammates with Kareem back in the day. This is the first playoff game with you guys in a while. What do you think of him out there?
Kareem need to keep running the ball like that. We'll take it. But it's fun to have Kareem back. His energy, him and Pop is like a 1-2 punch. Pop getting there running head first, full of energy. And then Kareem is the pounder right after Pop. Pause,
Okay, thanks, Chris.
All right, that was Chris Jones after the game today. Chiefs take down Houston 23-14 in the AFC Divisional round. Back to that point real quick before we hit a break and then hear from Andy Reid. It was such a great performance defensively. Some of those offensive issues were masked up. This tweet baffles me, by the way. This is from Benjamin Solak here from Twitter. Actually, we'll wait to tell you that because George Karlaftis just popped up at the podium. Let's go to him.
George, 3 sacks today. Talk about how what went through your day to day and just what was working for you. What was working for the defensive line unit as a whole?
Yeah, I think starting with Spags and Coach Cullen, Coach Braden, the game plan that went into it, I thought it was great. And we talk internally about rushing under an umbrella of discipline. And the front half, the D-line, the linebackers, working with the backhand, the DBs. So when all that stuff happened, success usually follows. So it was all working together.
George, I wanted to ask you about your 4th down sack. You guys run a cover 0 pressure on 3rd down. It's 20 to 12 out of midfield. You get the incompletion. Now, 4th down, the Texans came out of the hole very late. They made 5 to 6 seconds on the play clock, snapped the ball, and you're able to wrestle Stroud to the ground. If you could walk me through what you were seeing on that play and Washington.
I knew the protection because I actually messed that play up on our Thursday practice, and they were like, "Oh, you know what?" So I'm glad I messed it up on Thursday, so I got it right on game day.
What did you mess up about it initially, and then what was the correction?
I lost contain on the quarterback, so he got outside, so made sure not to do that.
You were chasing Stroud early in the game, and he was able to get around the corner on you. And then What changed in the fourth quarter? Did he just wear down a little bit because he couldn't get away from you guys? Right?
I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think just all of us working together. You know, the guys up front, working with the guys in the back half, and you know, just playing as one and trusting in the call and trusting in each other.
What type of traits do you feel like you've developed over the years to allow you to have a performance like this in such a big spot?
I mean, I don't really like answering like personal questions after such a big team win, but you know, just trusting in my coaching. You know, leaning on my vets. A guy like Chris Jones, a guy like Frank Clark, Carlos Dunlap, guys like Mike Dana, Charles O'Menahue, Treshawn Wharton. I can go on and on. You know, what I am is because of those guys, and you know, especially Coach Cullen, Coach Spags, and Coach Braden too. So.
What did it mean overall for different individuals in this sack? Like it was you for a few times, but then it would be Felix, it would be Treshawn, it would be Chris. Just everybody get that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, when you get a sack, you know, it's a big thing. You know, it's a big deal. You know, both as a play, as a stat, but also for the morale. You know, you get to the quarterback, so. You know, when multiple guys are able to do that, I don't know how many we had today, 7, 8, yeah. When you have 8 sacks, that gives you a pretty good chance to win usually.
So you were your third year, AFC Championship game every year. You had one at home, one on the road. Are you excited this one's going to be back at home?
Absolutely. You know, there's nothing like it. You know, just can't wait. You know, let's see who we play.
George, what is it about Spags and Dallin to write things up, especially in second halves of games and those big play type games?
Yeah, I like that question. You know, Spags has been there and done that. You know, he's had all this experience and he knows what to call in critical situations. But also on top of that, we know what he knows, or what he's thinking about calling too, just because we've drilled it so much in practice and we've gone over it, you know, so many times. And he's open and honest and he's like, look, this is what I'm thinking and stuff like that. So when it comes to game time, you're just free. You're just going and executing to the best of your ability.
Okay, thanks, George.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that was George Karlaftis after the game. A 3-sack performance, 8 total for the Chiefs defense and 14 pressures. The tweet I wanted to get to before we hit a break, because I do know that we are going a little bit long on this. What a fascinating number that this is. This comes from Benjamin Solak on Twitter. Per ESPN Stats Info, the Texans are the first team to outgain their opponent by 100-plus yards. They had 336 to Kansas City's 212, not turn the ball over, and lose a postseason game. Previous teams were 49-0. Well, I lied. We're not hitting a break because Kareem Hunt is back at the podium. Let's hear from him.
And being able to practice, move around, get my conditioning in, feel great.
What were your emotions before the game, getting another chance to be in the playoffs?
Very high. You know, I had to keep myself, you know, level-headed, not to be too excited, and, you know, just coming out there and just play, you know, football, you know, treat it like another game, you know, just run a little harder.
Take us through your touchdown.
Honestly, it was blocked pretty well, you know, a little jab step, just followed Travis through the little, you know, crease and had to run through an arm tackle. Great blocking.
Kareem, getting the opportunity to play in the postseason after what you went through with the Chiefs last time, just how much are the emotions playing in you, just being able to contribute with this team and now being in the AFC Championship?
Yeah, you know, the emotions definitely are high, man. I feel it, you know, I feel blessed, you know, it feels like, you know, a dream come true again, and, you know, I feel like I left a lot, you know, unsolved before, so now I'm, you know, excited to be able to, you know, write the rest of the story.
Was it watching the team? Because they played 5 of these in a row, right? And watching that and knowing what could have been, I mean, to now know that next Sunday you get that chance. I mean, how much does that mean to you?
It means everything, man. I'm gonna make the most of the opportunity, and that's what, you know, I do every time I touch the ball. I try to make the most of it, and you know, find a way to put the team in a situation to be successful.
Were you on the field for Pat's touchdown to Kelsey?
No, I wasn't. No.
So what was your vantage point? What did you see on that play?
I thought it was going to be an interception or something. But for 1-5, he's a man of, you know, he's a man of magic, man. He's able to make those type of plays and throws off balance is crazy.
Kareem, you only had 2 carries before the fourth quarter. Just how'd you stay ready?
I stayed by the heater. and just kept my mind in the game, just, you know, waiting for that opportunity, you know, to get my number called and, just be ready. Go out there and make the most of each opportunity.
What did you see on the 4th and 1?
I saw, a good D-line rush and, one-on-one in the hole, and I got to find a way to get a yard or two, and I like my odds, every time.
Green, you mentioned that, like they made the amazing play, Patrick and Travis. You saw a lot of that stuff early on when you were here. Are you amazed that they're still doing that?
I am, but I'm not. They got good chemistry, and the way we practice and work. I feel like practice is sometimes harder than the games for sure. So it makes it easy when we get out there.
Is there anything better for a running back than to be trying to run out the clock, run the ball in the 4th quarter, trying to close out a win?
Is there anything better?
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody knew he was running the ball, so it is not a great feeling, but you gotta make it work when, the defense knows we're running the ball. They're gonna send blitzes and try to, stop you before you get going.
This will be your first AFC title game. What are you most looking forward to about next week?
Just the environment. I'm looking forward to, how fast the game is gonna be, and every play is a big play. You got to make the most of it. And you never know what play can decide the game. So just want to go home.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, that is the final Chiefs player at the podium. And I want to apologize to Dan. Kept him waiting on the line far too long. He's been very patient. But Dan, wrap us up here from the phone lines on the Red and Gold Postgame Show.
Hey, Jack, how you doing? Yeah, it was a great win by the Chiefs. Yeah, the defense really played great. 8 sacks on the start, even though they had that long drive in the second half, but they really tightened up. They just got to get that better and get the ball back to the offense. And great job by Kelsey, and the special teams was outstanding. It was a good game that Fairbairn likes to forget, missing the extra point, blocking the field goal. The special teams really played good, so let's take care of business with the Bills and the Ravens. So let's go to the Super Bowl, win 3 straight. Take care of yourself, Jack.
All right, appreciate it, Dan. Yeah, thank you so much for waiting on the phone lines as long as you did. Crazy to think the Chiefs, with only 212 yards of offense, won that game. They were the first team to win a game like that when their opponent outgained them by more than 100 yards and didn't turn the ball over. Teams were previously 49-0, now 49-1 as Andy Reid gets his 300th win. The Chiefs are moving on. The AFC title game will be at Arrowhead next Sunday. They will await the winner of the Ravens and the Bills. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show tonight. But let's hit a break. When we come back, we're going to hear from the head coach and Andy Reid get his thoughts after Kansas City's 23-14 win over Houston. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB. One was the sweet play of the game, and it's brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. Enjoy a treat and give to a great cause. The 87 Concrete, crafted by Travis Kelce himself, consists of vanilla frozen custard, Oreo, cookie dough, cream caramel, and a portion of those proceeds go to support Travis Kelce's 87 and Running Foundation. Top your day with a smile at Andy's. And speaking of Andy's, let's hear from Andy Reid. His thoughts after the 23-14 win over the Houston Texans in the AFC Divisional round. Win number 300. Kansas City going back to the AFC title game for the 7th consecutive time. Here's the opening statement from head coach Andy Reid.
All right. Thank you to the fans, first of all. They were outstanding today, this afternoon, so it was beautiful. It was good to get back in the swing of things. I thought the guys knocked a little rust off early and then kept working, and I thought finished up strong. I thought our defense did an outstanding job. George led us with 3 sacks, but there were 8 team sacks overall, and that doesn't normally happen against a great offense like they've got. So my hat goes off to Spags as the plan he had, and then again the players for executing it. Justin led us with in tackles, and McDuffie had the 3 pass breakups that were tremendous too to go with it. Offensively, you probably need to start with Trev with 7 catches for 117 yards, a touchdown, and he just, that's why he's the greatest tight end there's been. So. Kareem, I'm trying to read my notes here. Kareem was 7 for 40 for 1 touchdown, and then anyways, it was all good. I've got 8,000 notes here scribbled on here. I thought Remigio did a great job with the initial kickoff, with a 63-yard run, and then Bucker with his 3 field goals, outstanding, and then Chanel right at the end comes up with a big block. My hat goes off to Borgo going to Tennessee. He's now the enemy, but we're glad he was able to get that job as a general manager there. So he's done a phenomenal job here for us, and we love the guy, but another AFC team now. So, anyways, with that, time's yours.
All right, that was the opening statement from Andy Reid after the game. Kind of sounds a little bit like he's battling a flu or something. The voice sounds a lot deeper than we're accustomed to. But those were some of his thoughts after the game. Touched a little bit on Travis Kelce. His performance, 117 yards in this one, had a touchdown as well. The only one to catch a touchdown pass today from Patrick Mahomes. The only other guy to get a touchdown was Kareem Hunt, who we've heard from a few times throughout the show right here on the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. What about injuries? Here's what Andy Reid had to say after the game.
Yeah, there weren't really anything to mention. Everybody got through it, and they're good. They might have some bumps and bruises, but it's all good there.
Yeah, next to winning the game, that's the best possible news that you can hear in the postgame, is that you're not dealing with any injuries. Jalen Watson, who is returning to action, no bad news there, no negative news. It seems like he's going to be ready to go for the AFC title game next week. On the offensive line, all good. Chris Jones, he was dealing with that calf injury. Also saw him getting that worked on in the fourth quarter, I think it was. But he went back out there, and the game was still very effective. So no bad update there for Chris Jones. All good signs for Kansas City after their win over Houston. Now, here was Andy Reid on that connection between Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and when they hooked up for the touchdown.
Yeah, well, that touchdown was unbelievable. The touchdown throw to Trev was incredible. For him to be able to get himself in position, just his body in position to make that throw, I thought was great.
Did you think for a second he might have had his knee down? You didn't, but I mean, did you wonder that as he was releasing the ball?
No.
You just knew?
I have a good view of it.
And the other was the long connection they had early. That was Travis's longest catch of the season, and certainly showed some burst. Do you see that as a benefit of the rest?
Yeah, he can still play. He's all right.
You see Patrick doing a lot of things. That play there that we're talking about, is that one where even though you're in the middle of the game, you may peek up and watch the replay on the board?
Yeah, I always tell our coaches, don't get used to that. I mean, this is unreal. I tell the fans the same thing. We're very lucky to have him here. And the stuff he's doing just doesn't happen. That's why he's the greatest at doing what he's done in a relatively young career here. So, I thought Nagy did a nice job of putting the guys in position to have some real nice plays too. And then I should have mentioned Dave Tobe in there too. Dave did a good job with the specialty.
Now, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are going to steal the show when you're talking about the offense, but in the running back room, had a little bit of a dosage of Isaiah Pacheco, but Kareem Hunt was the lead rusher in this game. He also found the end zone. What a story it's been for him in his return to Kansas City. He probably thought in the offseason this past year that he might not get another opportunity to start in the NFL, let alone a playoff game. Didn't get the start today. It was Pacheco to take the field with the first-team offense, but by the end of it, it was Kareem Hunt doing the majority of the work. Here was Andy Reid talking about the running back room and their performance today.
Yeah, listen, he's been great for us. He's really helped, and he ran hard today. And when we needed him right down the stretch there, we just handed it to him. And that's not taking anything away from Pacheco because he's doing a nice job too. To have both of them, plus P. Ryan going in on third downs and doing what he does, it's a nice thing to have from a coaching standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Kareem Hunt is the guy you might need to look to ahead of next Sunday's game as the number one back. I mean, it's felt that way now for the last few games when the starters were out there, that Kareem Hunt was just the more effective back. And it's no knock on Isaiah Pacheco. He's trying to work back from an injury that maybe to some thought that it could have been season-ending. Or maybe if he comes back, he's just not the same guy. And I don't know if I've seen a loss in a step or two, or if the boost really isn't there. I mean, it's just so tough to come back and be the same guy in the same season when you suffer an injury like Isaiah Pacheco had. And Kareem Hunt, for what it's worth, is kind of got the hot hand right now. And I do wonder if it's Baltimore or Buffalo, if Kareem Hunt might be the best option as the number one back for Kansas City for that game. Now, on the offensive line, it was Joe Thuney getting the start over DJ Humphries. Here's what Andy Reid had to say about his performance.
Yeah, so just with the complexity of the playoffs with different looks and the defenses, I think Joe and Kellyan have been here. That's not taking anything away from DJ because he's done a great job of working himself in. And we literally rotate him at practice. I think everybody's got confidence in him. It's just the part that you got to start somebody. You know, they had 5 of them, right? So.
I don't know if we're going to get to a point in the offseason where the offensive line just dominates, right? I just think that no matter who they're going up against, there's going to be bad series, there's going to be bad reps, but there's also going to be good series and good reps, and that's what I took away today. I mean, the offense had 212 yards of offense. It's not very pretty. Like I said earlier, it wasn't detrimental because they won the football game. But, if it wasn't for Travis Kelce, I don't know what type of production you're really getting, or if Patrick Mahomes can really operate the same way for how many times he was pressured and sacked in this one. But I do think Joe Thuney's going to be the guy moving forward. They're going to need a performance of all performances going up against Baltimore or Buffalo. Maybe they do make that switch to DJ Humphries. I highly doubt it if it was Joe Thuney today. So there were some bad snaps for him, but also held his own for the second half, and that was important, and the Chiefs being able to hang on for a 23-14 win. And that win put Andy Reid in the 300 club. Here's his thoughts on that.
Yeah, a lot of people go into that. So, it's not – I joke to guys that, you get a couple more, you might be able to equal my weight. So, and it looks like you're a Forktarian too, so I'm with you. you can roll with me.
Yeah, some good jokes there from Andy Reid. Of course, he's going to deflect a little bit.
A forktarian.
I know.
I hadn't heard that.
I had never heard of that either, but that's a good joke, and I'm sure the team got a kick out of that one. And since you just talked about, adding a few more wins to 300, what was the message to the team in the locker room after the game? I'm sure Andy Reid had plenty to say on that. I mean, he is a man of few words from time to time, but here's what he said. He said to the team after their 23-14 win.
Yeah, well, I'm proud of them for what they've done. This isn't an easy thing. That's a good football team. D'Amico's done a phenomenal job with that team. I had him as a player. Now I get to see him as a coach, and he's doing great things, as a coach. So a ton of respect for him and what he's done. But that's a good football team. Phenomenal defense that they've got. So I'm proud of our guys for how they handled it. And we knocked a little rust off. Everybody stayed positive and with each other and that whole bit. And here we sit with a championship game. I mean, we're humbled to be in that position. And fortunate, we appreciate that we're right here at Arrowhead. So.
Yeah, you got to tip your cap to D'Amico Ryans and the Texans for their performance today. It wasn't pretty, but I'll tell you this. Throughout the week, I didn't really see a world in which Houston was going to look like a completely different and better bunch than they did on December 21st. And I didn't really see them replicating what they were able to do against the Chargers. I mean, you take away the pick six and a near pick six, Houston's offense only put up 18 points against the Chargers. Chargers defense that was number one in scoring defense, but I just didn't like the matchup for Houston. But they came ready to play. They nearly tied the game up if it wasn't for Kaimi Fairbairn missing the PAT when it was 13-12. They came ready to play. That's a tough place to win. It's a tough coach to beat and a tough quarterback to beat. And even though the Chiefs weren't on their A game, it wasn't going to take their A game to beat the Houston Texans. But the Texans definitely needed their A-plus game to beat a team like Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium. And lastly, here's what Andy Reid had to say on the defensive game plan going into a matchup like this.
Yeah. Well, look, the scheme, he's got a tremendous scheme, and it's complicated. So they had to deal with that. The other part is the players playing the way they are. I mean, Brett's done a nice job of bringing guys in on both sides of the ball for us. I mean, we were this close on the offensive side, and the defense probably could have had a couple more even. So where he escaped out of the pocket. But the plan was right for who we were facing. And I thought Spags really did a nice job of that.
On that same front, to make those big plays in the second half when you really got needed in those momentum spots. Why do you figure that is that just you make them at the big times?
Yeah, they're good players that love to play the game. I mean, that's we're sitting here. It's that time of the year, and guys stepped up and did a nice job. And Spags puts them in position to be able to do that, and then they take advantage of it. That's how that goes. Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, that was Andy Reid after the game. The Chiefs moving on to the AFC Championship game for the seventh consecutive time. They will await the winner of the Ravens and the Bills. Right now, the Lions and Commanders are still in the first quarter, just under 3 minutes to go. Jahmyr Gibbs having quite the performance. Surprise, surprise. Lions lead 7-3. We'll give you some updates throughout the show as we continue to hear from some of the players and coaches after the game today. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hear from the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. He's next on the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Season with Botobox, the ultimate tailgate wine. Botobox is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Botobox, this is how we Bota. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Botobox Vineyards, Manteca, California. Chiefs win it 23-14, and boy, the Houston Texans are not taking it very well. Will Anderson Jr. after the game also had a phenomenal game.
They're looking inward, right?
Hell of a game. Yeah, you would think you get sacked 8 times, you have 3 missed kicks, you don't punch it into the end zone, and the couple opportunities you had in the red zone, some drives stalled, 2 opportunities in the fourth quarter to put points on the board, you go scoreless. You go for it on 4th and 10, don't take the timeout with the play clock winding down, it results in another sack. Well, Will Anderson Jr. didn't say any of that. He said, we knew it was going to be us against the refs going into this game. D'Amico Ryans, head coach of the Houston Texans, said something kind of similar. Said we knew going into it was going to be us versus everybody, and I mean everybody. Subtly hinting at the officials in this game. So Houston...
Get out the checkbook.
Houston believes they lost this game because of officiating and not some of the other reasons that contributed to a 23-14 outcome. Really, a 23-12 outcome. The Chiefs, and again, I understand why they took the safety to run out more time, but having a 2-score lead, I thought it would have been fine to punt. I'm not saying that because I had money on the game to cover the spread, because, wow, I would be very curious to know what some of the sports books in Vegas were looking like at that point when Matt Araiza ran out of the back of the end zone, covering that 9.5-point spread, I believe, for the Houston Texans. Vegas is wild, man. But for the Houston Texans, they do not believe they were treated fairly in this game. That comes from Will Anderson Jr., us versus the refs. That's how they viewed it all week long, and that's how they'll view it moving into the offseason. All right, let's hear from Patrick Mahomes. You did earlier hear him and Lisa Salters down on the field after the game, so we don't need to hear that again. We are going to hear, though, his thoughts on that touchdown to Travis Kelce. That's going to be a frame picture on a lot of Chiefs fans' walls coming up here in the next few weeks whenever this season comes to a close, hopefully with another Super Bowl. But that's going to be framed. Lunging forward, having his foot grabbed, and still finding Travis Kelce, as he's done so many times in the postseason.
If someone has a picture of both of them in frame during that moment, it's going to make a lot of money.
You can charge a lot. Yep,
yeah.
You can charge a lot and get it autographed, why don't you? By both the guys, and you can really make a lot of money.
I'm going to go deep in the vault. Do you remember the picture of Marcus Allen going over with Denver, and it's all you can see the whole goal line?
Yes.
I'm hoping there's one of those.
I always thought, too, that game in Cincinnati a few years ago where he jumped at the goal line, I was like, that's going to be framed, and then they lost. Actually. So I said, well, it's not going to be framed anymore because they lost that game. It was that Superman dive that he had and took the contact on 4th down. Now, this year, I'm thinking it's when he ran over Mustafa in San Francisco. I thought that'd be the perfect frame photo. This takes the cake.
I was thinking of the one in when you brought up Bengals, when his ankle was messed up and he had to step up in the pocket and hit MVS, I think it was.
Yes, it was MVS.
On like a 3rd down. So it's very similar to that one.
Couple different ways you could go with it, but here is Patrick Mahomes and his thoughts on that touchdown connection to Travis Kelce.
I knew I was going to have to buy a little time. We were at 3rd and long in the red zone, but we had talked about that exact play, and we just had to try to get over that linebacker, so I had to buy a little bit of time. So I stepped up in the pocket, was able to get enough on it to get in the end zone, and that was a big play in the game, and we needed to kind of get in that end zone after that long drive that they had.
Patrick, how did you get enough on it? Because it looked like you were basically face planting as you let go of the ball.
It's just everything I got was the Bobby Stroop workouts. So it was you find a way in those big moments, and that was a big moment, and I was glad that Trav was in that spot where I was able to give him the football.
Did you know coming off your hand that?
Nah, there was a little bit of I didn't know if that dude was gonna get back in there, and it was kind of when it was a touchdown or a pick, and I was able to get through and get to the end zone, but it's something we worked on. I mean, that's the end of the day. We worked on that play and that situation, 3rd and long, and we were able to do that.
Yeah, that touchdown wasn't the only time that Travis Kelce was in or near the end zone. Earlier on in the first half, as you heard the audio of it, the 49-yard catch and run. I think Pete Sweeney put this out here, of course, the editor-in-chief over at Arrowhead Pride, and you hear him right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. But he had only broken 3 tackles or had forced 3 missed tackles all season long, and there were 2 right there. It was either Pete or it was Sam McDowell, the KC Star. I'd have to go back and find it, but that's crazy to think about. Forcing 2 missed tackles on one play when he only forced 3 missed tackles all season long. But here was Patrick Mahomes on that 49-yard catch and run by Travis Kelce.
I told Carson, I said that those tackles that tackle him in the regular season don't tackle him in the playoffs, and he did a good job. He caught the ball, he got off the tackle, broke another tackle, and then hit it down the field. And he was trying to get the knees up, but I was glad he got us close enough that we were able to get in the end zone. Yeah, it was. They brought the safety on a pressure, and once they did that, I know he was one-on-one with a linebacker, and so those are those matchups you look for. And they kind of try to zone it off, and he just got right in the window, right behind the linebackers, and that's what he's done for his entire career.
How do you explain Kelsey's ability to elevate usually every playoff season?
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. I mean, people say it's real. It's big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games, and that's just how simple it is. And he's one of those guys, he doesn't let the moment be bigger than what it is. He just goes out there and execute at a high level just like he does in the regular season. He just does that a little bit higher intensity.
Yeah, what more can you say about Travis Kelce in the postseason? Whether he gets the rest or he doesn't get the rest, he always just seems to show up in such a big way. But, man, all-time performance there from Travis Kelce, still getting it done in the postseason. Now, Patrick Mahomes had the chance to talk about resting before the postseason, what it did for him, and maybe more importantly, what it did for Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I think it helped Trav a ton. I mean, just because he's an older guy. I mean, and he plays a very, very tough position on the body. So when you're able to get some weeks off and kind of get your body reset, and he's not, it's not like he's just sitting on the couch. I mean, he's working out and kind of just taking those reps off. And so for him, it's just been getting himself ready to go. We've been practicing, we've been working at practice, and then we go out there and he plays fast and takes his game to a new level.
Do you see any difference in him, his demeanor, his focus, whatever it might be, playoff week?
Yeah, it's playoff Trav. I mean, he's a leader, man, and this is what he lives for, is playing in these moments, having the chance to make big-time plays, and he goes out there and does that, and it seems like he does it every single playoff game.
For so long in Travis Kelce's career, I mean, they just couldn't get over the hump. They just couldn't get past the divisional round, couldn't get past the wild card. But now, Travis Kelce nearing the final stages of his career. Hopefully, we can see a few more years, but certainly now in the final stages when you're just talking about great production from a starting tight end. You would love to see him play into his age 40 season, but we also know Travis Kelce is going to have a long, long and storied career after football. He's got a lot of stuff lined up, and maybe that's at the end of this year, maybe that's at the end of 3 more seasons. But still, that first half of his career, the Chiefs really couldn't get it done. Now they're going to be headed to a 7th consecutive AFC title game. Just wild to think about it when you go back over all the heartache that happened to the Kansas City Chiefs in the postseason prior to the Patrick Mahomes era. But here was Patrick Mahomes on getting back once again to the AFC title game.
Yeah, no, it's been a special run. I mean, just with everybody here in Kansas City, from the organization to the community, from the team, and from my family, and I just try to cherish that. I mean, I still remember moments from the World Series my dad played when I was 5 years old. So these are moments that I'll have with my family for the rest of my life, and it's a growing family. Hopefully, we're done growing for a little while, but it's cool that I'm able to play in these big games, and the Kansas City community has brought me in to be a part of their family.
I mean, it's just become a regular thing now. It's a regular thing to get to the AFC Championship game, and Patrick Mahomes has not experienced any less. The worst loss he's ever suffered in the postseason was overtime in the AFC Championship game at home. 16-3 now in the postseason. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan. He's now tied Joe Montana for all-time postseason wins.
Yeah.
And you talk about the decorated career of Joe Montana.
Last year, he set himself apart with just Joe and Tom with the Super Bowl win.
And it is very likely, and hopefully next week, he surpasses Joe Montana with a win over the Baltimore Ravens or the Buffalo Bills. Now, speaking of Arrowhead Stadium, where the game will be next weekend, here was Patrick Mahomes playing at Arrowhead in the postseason and the elements in it.
The one throw down the sideline to Hollywood probably got it a little bit, but I feel like that's an advantage at Arrowhead, is having the elements, having the cold. And I've always said I want to be the best thrower of the football out there. I mean, I thought CJ played good, though. So, I mean, he was spinning it as well. But that's what Arrowhead is special, is that you get the wind, you get the cold, and you get the freezing temps. And then you go out there and you just try to go out there and execute at a high level. And I feel like it's an advantage for us. And so we'll try to carry that on into this next game.
Yeah, if you were a betting man, there was a stat out there before the game that the Texans, I think, were 0-4 when it dipped below 24 degrees. It was damn cold today. I mean, the wind chill was in the single digits. I think it felt like 5 or 6 during the game. Bitterly cold. The wind certainly playing a part. Patrick Mahomes talked about it. Then you got the noise, but it never matters to the fan base. It never matters the Chiefs' kingdom. They're always going to show up. They're going to be loud and make themselves heard in a playoff game like today. Chiefs get it done 23-14 over the Houston Texans. They're advancing to their 7th consecutive AFC Championship game. Now, Travis Kelce was the main offensive weapon today for Patrick Mahomes. Didn't get a catch from Hollywood Brown. He dropped a big 40-plus yard attempt in the first half. Also, DeAndre Hopkins was targeted in the first half. It was a slant route. Patrick Mahomes threw it a little bit behind him, so those guys didn't have too much of an impact. So it was the Travis Kelce show, but here was Patrick Mahomes on the offensive weapons in their performance today.
I think it helps when you have 1 and 5, that speed and D-Hop out there. I mean, when you have those weapons out there, it's hard for defenses to kind of account for everybody. And so they were playing some shell coverages over the top. If you think about the play that Trav has the big catch on, the play before we almost hit Hollywood for like a 60, 70-yard play or whatever it was. And I think that scares teams where they're like, we can't just focus all our attention on Travis. And if they do, I have to continue to shoot those balls down the field to those fast guys and let them make plays. And that's kind of the battle you have with the defensive coordinator.
It wasn't the offensive performance I think Dylan or I thought it was going to look like. You have the 23 days off for the starters. You felt like they were going to be clicking. Opening script was going to be great. It was clunky, muddied up. I think it was, I'm blanking now on which caller it was, so I do apologize. But, bringing the dirt and water to muddy it up, I thought that was fantastic. And that's what it felt like for the offense in this game. Only 212 yards. Not all the offensive weapons got going in this one, but Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes certainly had that connection, as they have so many times throughout the postseason. Now, Mahomes also talked about his head coach and Andy Reid joining the 300 club. Andy Reid deflected all the praise, but I'm sure Patrick Mahomes has been giving a lot of praise to his head coach and only head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a great person. I'm more than a great coach. He's just a great person, and guys want to play for a guy like that. And he's been so instrumental in making me who I am, and I owe him a lot of pretty much all of my success. And so I told him that we need to get to 302, though, before this year, and then we can worry about next year.
Back to the offense here real quickly. Patrick Mahomes went on to dive into the wide receivers, and really only Xavier Worthy got going in this one. He was targeted more than a few times, was used in the running game a little bit on some of those end arounds, those sweeps. Xavier Worthy continues to grow each and every single week. That has been maybe the best development with the Chiefs offense this year, is seeing him step up in a role that I don't think even he thought was going to be possible come postseason time, because he thought Rashee Rice was still going to be the number one wide receiver, but enter DeAndre Hopkins. They didn't think Hollywood Brown was going to be out for the entire year, really until the final few weeks of the regular season. But Worthy has continued to make big plays over the last couple weeks. He has been so valuable to Patrick Mahomes in this offense, but specifically this wide receiver room and not having a ton of production from the other guys. Here's what number 15 had to say on that.
Obviously you want to get those guys involved. That makes your offense even better, and obviously there was times where we kind of stalled out on drives, and so that'll be something that we work on going into another great opponent this next week, and whoever that is. But they're part of the offense, and they know that, and they're going to keep going out there and competing. And in the playoffs, it's always, you never know how it's going to go. It's about finding ways to win, and we found a way to win today. But we're going to have to get those guys involved if we want to get to our ultimate goal.
And that's what we talked about to open up the show, was they can't beat Buffalo or Baltimore if they get nothing from the other receivers. I mean, you would love to have Travis Kelce going for 117 again next week. I doubt that'll happen, because Baltimore and Buffalo will have far more of a focus on him, but that's also going to open up things for guys like Hollywood Brown, more for Worthy, more for DeAndre Hopkins, maybe even a little bit for Justin Watson. Things could be opened up. But today, quiet days for DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown, and Justin Watson. Well, it wasn't just a win and any other day for Patrick Mahomes. It was also his mom's birthday. Here's what he had to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's her birthday, so happy birthday, Mom. So no, she's Graham. She's Grandy is what she calls herself, and our kids love her, and she's been a huge part of, instrumental part of my life, my entire life, and taking me to those baseball games. And she takes a picture by that sign. I mean, Golden Road's where I played baseball growing up. So it's those are the things that you'll forever remember, those moments you have with your parents. And she's here today, and I'm sure she'll be ready to take care of these grandkids tonight.
Oh, great W for Patrick Mahomes and his family today. They're moving on to the AFC Championship game for the 7th consecutive season. And lastly, Patrick Mahomes had the chance to talk about the whole team stepping up in this 23-14 win.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this a little earlier, I think one of my other interviews, and I said Coach Reid, me, Chris, Trav kind of get all the credit, but this team is a team, and I think that's special. There's guys throughout the entire roster that make plays. And every single week, if it's Leo or if it's Trent or if it's George today or whoever it is, it's about everybody, and everybody's winners in this team, and I think that's what makes us special. So it doesn't always have to be an offensive explosion. It doesn't always have to be the defense locking it down. It's just who can find a way to get a win, and how can we do that. And I think that's what makes us a special football team, and we'll try to carry that into next week.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, that was Patrick Mahomes after the game today. We hear from him every single time on the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is brought to you by Boda Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Vineyards, Manteca, California. When we come back, we're going to have the locker room report, hear from a couple of players that we didn't hear from earlier after the Chiefs advance to the AFC title game following their 23-14 win over the Houston Texans. You are tuned in to Sports Radio 810, WHB. Roofing and Construction, you can make the right call as well by visiting shamrockroofer.com. Shamrock Roofing and Construction, one call does it all. It's now time for our locker room report, which is brought to you by Twin Peaks. We have two guys we want to hear from, and Xavier Worthy was the second leading receiver behind Travis Kelce in his 117 yards and a touchdown today. Also going to hear from Jalen Watson, who is miraculously back out there and getting meaningful snaps for the Chiefs in the secondary. I was at that game in San Francisco when he suffered the fracture, and he's back. And I think that snap count is only going to be going up for the AFC title game against either the Baltimore Ravens or the Buffalo Bills. By the way, I'm captivated right now by the Commanders and Lions game. I hate to say it as I'm doing the show right now, but I'm multitasking. Boy, the Commanders have come to play. They are not scared of the Detroit Lions, and Jaden Daniels is the future of the NFC East, in my opinion. Maybe the NFC as a whole. 17 points right now for the Commanders in the first half. Long touchdown on a screenplay to Terry McLaurin. Washington now up 17-14 over the Detroit Lions. We'll give you some updates throughout the remaining parts of our show here in the final hour. But first things first, want to go to the locker room report and hear from Xavier Worthy. Our very own Stephen St. John was down in the locker room, but here was Worthy after the game.
For sure. Did it affect you? Nah. First touch of playoff football in Arrowhead. Describe that atmosphere and coming away with a win.
It was live. It was fun. It was a good atmosphere. It was really cold. I feel like that gives us an advantage. Practicing all week, so we just prepared and worked hard for it.
You feel any rust or anything when the game started after such a long layoff?
No, not no rust. Just getting back in that rhythm that we had before coming into the playoffs.
How did you assess offensively the rhythm you guys had out there, especially from the start and then holding on to the victory?
Yeah, I feel like we started picking up our pace towards like the second quarter, getting stuff established, getting plays ran, getting play call executed.
How do you feel about that play? The 49-yarder by Kelce kind of got the offense going. That was a huge play in the game. Just walk me through what you thought of Kelce's game today, going over 100 yards.
Man, you don't Kelce score that. but yeah, he had a huge game. Obviously, he's one of the leaders on the team, a guy to pick up the offense when it's down. So he's like our motivator guy. So he had a hell of a game.
Xavier, what was going through your mind when you saw Pat throw that pass on third and down? Basically Superman style.
Yeah. Wow. Are you talking about the one with Travis?
The one with Travis, yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, I didn't know right now. I just showed Hollywood. I'm like, dang, I didn't know he was falling. That's crazy. But that's crazy. It just shows like his ability and what type of playmaker he is.
What's it like to have guys like that in the playoffs to lean on?
Oh man, I can't even explain the feeling. It's a different type of feeling.
First taste of playoff football as a pro. What do you take away from this experience?
It's a learning experience. Just build and grow from it.
How's it feel to be one win away from the Super Bowl?
Oh, man, I can't even explain that feeling to you. A lot of people haven't won a Super Bowl. A lot of vets haven't won a Super Bowl. So just going out there and just treating it like a regular game.
Did you feel a different vibe in the crowd with the playoffs? Different feel out there at Arrowhead?
No, they might have been too cold. It was cold out there.
How's that compared to the coldest game you ever played in?
Man,
was that the coldest?
Yeah, for
Did
sure.
it affect you?
Nah.
That was Xavier Worthy after the game. Just continues to get better week by week. And with Rashee Rice back in this lineup next year, you start to wonder about how good this receiving core can get. Maybe Hollywood Brown comes back on another short-term deal. Maybe you bring back DeAndre Hopkins. But the production that Xavier Worthy has brought in a role that we all thought he wouldn't be in. I mean, I think best case scenario after he was drafted was he's the number 3 wide receiver for this team. He's going to be behind Rice and Hollywood Brown, but at times he's had to be the number 1 wide receiver. And certainly today, if it wasn't for Travis Kelce, he was the number 1 wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. And you were listening to the Locker Room Report, which is brought to you by Twin Peaks.
The Chiefs Locker Room Report is brought to you by Twin Peaks. No one does football like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks.
And the last piece of audio I want to get to here is Jalen Watson. What a comeback that he's had. I thought he looked great in multiple snaps tonight. against Nico Collins and a couple other receivers and Dalton Schultz out there for Houston. The secondary is only going to get better for the remaining 2 games, hopefully in the postseason for the Chiefs. But I don't think many people out there thought Jalen Watson was going to be returning after that injury in San Francisco. But here he is, and here he is playing meaningful snaps. Jalen Watson after the game against Houston.
Did you think you'd be back and in this position, and what did it feel like to be out there for a playoff game?
I did. I told everybody I would. It felt great, though. It felt great to be back out there with my teammates, just not sitting and watching them and knowing I could try to help contribute, win it.
At what point thought that, okay, this is going to happen. I'm going to get a chance to be on the field.
The moment before I got my surgery, and I asked him, was it possible? And he said, it's a small possibility. That's when I knew I'd be able to play again.
Who's your surgeon? Do you remember his name?
Bob Anderson.
How did you feel once you got out there and took your first couple of reps?
Felt good. Confident in myself.
I mean, compared to before their injury, how close are you?
I don't know. I'm almost there.
I think you had shoulder surgery last offseason, right? And then to have the leg surgery today, what was the difference in trying to get back and be ready compared to what you went through last offseason?
There's no difference. You just wake up each day and attack the day. Try to, do the most you can to get back on the field, and that's what I did.
Yeah, we all know that playing man coverage is one of the hardest things to do in this sport. You guys did it a lot. That led to a lot of hits, a lot of sacks. Just how much do you think Steve tried to trust you guys with that type of assignment, given how good Nico has been all year?
Yeah, Spaz, he really trusts. Of course, we got a great corner in Trent, and he trusts the rest of the DB group to play tight, sticky coverage so we could get a D-line time to get sacks, and we did a good job at that today.
Jalen, with the defensive line, just that performance with 8 sacks, how is every level working together in unison to make sure that the defensive line was able to eat today and get the sacks they did?
Yeah, we try to make their job easier, and they try to make our job easier. Sometimes we might be beat and we get a sack, and sometimes we might have good coverage and get them a sack. So it works hand in hand.
Any sense that you guys just realize that this is another chance to go back to Super Bowl? What's it like to know that this team has worked all year for this, but met the moment when the moment was here?
I mean, since my rookie year, we always knew it was a chance at winning the Super Bowl. We just got to take advantage of our opportunities, not beat ourselves, and let the cards fall.
All right, that was Jalen Watson after the game, and certainly a rowdy locker room, as it should be when you win a playoff game, but this has become the new norm in Kansas City. AFC title games, Super Bowls, winning Super Bowls, winning in the AFC Divisional round, though for a lot of teams, it's been a struggle. It's no longer a struggle in Kansas City. You just expect to move on to the next round. And now for the Chiefs, they can kick their feet up. They can await the winner of tomorrow night's game between the Ravens and the Bills. Should be an absolutely fantastic game. And if you're not watching this, hopefully you're listening to me and you're watching the Lions and Commanders on mute, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm talking into this mic and also watching. Though it's on a commercial break right now. Jared Goff just got picked off, and the Commanders returned it for another
Jared Goff
touchdown.
Yep.
Full Jared Goff. Folks, the Washington Commanders are up 24-14 in the first half, 5 minutes left on the number 1 seed Detroit Lions. Now, still a lot of football left, and the Lions can score 40 points on any given night. We know they've got that type of power. Jahmyr Gibbs is in that group. Sam Laporta is in that group. Jamison Williams in that group. Amon-Ra St. Brown is. Right now, though, the Lions' defense, they're struggling. And Jared Goff can't be making too many mistakes like that, because Jaden Daniels and the young upstart Commanders, they are firing on all cylinders. Very curious what version of Detroit we're going to see coming out of the break here, but maybe more importantly in the second half. Are they going to tighten up, knowing how much pressure's on them? Because the Commanders are playing like a team, as we know, nothing to lose. They've already made it further than many people thought they could. They're playing with house money, and they're up by 10 points in the first half over the Detroit Lions, the 1 seed in the NFC here with 5 minutes to go in the second quarter. Okay, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to preview the games tomorrow and give some of our picks as to who we think is going to be moving on to the championship round. And then to close out the show, we are hopefully going to get connected with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. But coming up next, a quick look ahead on the Red and Gold Postgame Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Presented by Choice Solutions, your trusted, locally owned IT partner since 1985, providing IT expertise, services, and solutions to help your business grow. You can also make the right choice today by going to choicesolutions.com. And you are tuned in to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is brought to you by Boda Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Boda, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Vineyards, Manteca, California. And my goodness, you take a 5-minute break and you miss a 61-yard triple reverse by the Lions that results in a touchdown, Jameson Williams. And then before you can blink, the Commanders are now inside the 10-yard line of Detroit. This is a high-octane, high-powered, elite football game going on right now between the Washington Commanders and Detroit Lions. Just when you thought Detroit would be having the momentum, 4 plays into their drive, and the Commanders are at the 6. You know, we talk about dark horses all the time, and I felt like Tampa Bay was a true dark horse. I feel like the Rams are a dark horse. Maybe all along it was the Commanders and their rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels. I don't know what the second half has in store for us, but if the Commanders put up 30, maybe 31 by halftime in Detroit, yeah, that's a team I don't think you want any part of. And if they do somehow pull off the upset, I'd be fascinated to know what the spread would be for the NFC Championship game. But that's putting the cart ahead of the horse. They're only up by 3 right now, and that's a Detroit team, as I just mentioned, that can score the snap of a finger. 61-yard triple reverse that they had for Jameson Williams. Lightning speed. Now, we talk about the games tomorrow. If you're not doing anything, which it is a Sunday, hopefully people can relax and just watch the 2 remaining games that you got. The appetizer, Philadelphia and L.A., will kick off at 2 p.m. on NBC. The Eagles are a 6.5-point favorite, the total at 42. And the nightcap, which will be the granddaddy of them all, it feels like, the Bills and the Ravens. Right now, Zay Flowers, wide receiver for Baltimore, listed as doubtful for this game, would be a huge blow to the Ravens, who didn't have him last week, but they were going up against the Steelers in this game. Much different beast, and they're on the road at Highmark Stadium against the Bills team that many have said, kind of that team of destiny. I mean, it was Colin Cowherd earlier this week, picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl. Who's stopping them right now? What flaws do they have? I mean, I'll be honest with you, I can't point to many flaws that this Buffalo team has right now. But in that same conversation, Baltimore doesn't have many flaws either. They're going to have a heavy dosage of Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson is looking for that legacy game. Both of these guys are looking for a true legacy game because that big-time win has evaded them their entire playoff career. Josh Allen has gotten to the AFC title game just once. Lamar Jackson last year was in the AFC title game, lost to Kansas City. Now the winner is going to have to slay the demon, conquer the demon that has been tormenting them for their entire career. They'll have to go through Arrowhead Stadium to get to the Super Bowl. Right now, my gut tells me Baltimore. They are favored by a point, as I said. They just feel like, on paper, a better team all around. That defense has been stifling over the last few weeks or so. Not to say Buffalo hasn't, but that Buffalo run defense does give me cause for concern, even though it has gotten better as well. Derrick Henry is just a different animal. So tough to contain. I feel like even if you do shut him down a little bit, he's still going to get his. So I'm going to take the Ravens in that game. And as for Philadelphia and L.A., I mean, the Rams, I feel like, are that sexy pick, but I fell victim to that last week. I took the Chargers over Houston. That didn't work out. I feel like we can't discredit how good Philly's been. And they've got the best running back in football this season in Saquon Barkley. You know, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown. You know, you use that Philadelphia defense at home against the Rams team. Yes, that is finally healthy and clicking, but also a Rams team, I think, that needs to have a performance like we're seeing right now in Detroit that the Washington Commanders are putting on. I don't think the Rams can win this one, keeping it in the low 20s or the teens. I think they need to have an offensive onslaught tomorrow if they're going to be able to beat Philadelphia. Again, the Eagles, a 6.5-point favorite. I'm going to go with Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia wins this game, and then we'll see what happens with the Commanders and the Lions here If the Commanders are to win, they would be heading to Philadelphia, assuming that the Eagles win that game over the Rams. If the Lions win, the NFC title game would be between the number 1 and number 2 in Detroit. But again, that's my pick for the Eagles. Dylan, real quickly, who do you got tomorrow between the Rams and Eagles and Ravens and Bills?
Give me the Rams.
Okay.
And then give me the Ravens.
All right. So Ravens, you and I agree with. A lot of people going Rams, and it could bite me in the ass counting on Nick Sirianni in a game like this because Sean McVay has been coaching circles around everybody.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he coach circles around Nick Sirianni is my question.
Exactly. And also the Rams defense is very, very good at getting after the quarterback with a bunch of young players too. It'll be their biggest test.
Absolutely.
Is a playoff game against the Stoutland-led Eagles offensive line.
Yeah.
Which is arguably the best in the NFL.
That's how Saquon got his 2,000.
Right.
Not to take away anything from Saquon, but you don't get 2,000 just being an elite runner.
Yourself, right.
You got to have a great offensive line. And by the way, before we hit break, Commanders have found the end zone again.
This worries me with my upset tomorrow pick because this would be the biggest upset, obviously.
This would be the biggest upset of the postseason, and this would be the upset that everybody should have been talking about instead of Kansas City and Houston.
And usually one favorite is there. It's never, a bunch of high seeds at the championship game. Rarely is it.
Rarely. 31-21 Commanders. Here's the problem. They might have scored too quickly. Minute 46 to go for the Lions. More than plenty of time for Jared Goff and company to march down the field and even get 7 to make this a 3-point game before halftime. Okay.
They hit the over before half.
They absolutely will. This is going to be quite a fun finish in Detroit. I know Lions fans aren't feeling that right now, down by 10 to the Washington Commanders. And again, you're listening to the Red and Gold Postgame Show, which is brought to you by Boda Box Wine. Kick your tailgate party up a notch this football season with Boda Box, the ultimate tailgate wine. Boda Box is the premium boxed wine that wins with wine critics. Boda Box, this is how we Boda. Please drink responsibly. Sponsored by Boda Box Vineyards, Manteca, California. When we come back, we're going to hear from Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, and he's brought to you by Cap One Lending. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to CapOneLending.com. Well, Matt, it was just another vintage postseason performance for Travis Kelce. Be honest with me. Was that a type of game you saw coming from him just because he had the rest, or did that kind of come out of the blue to you?
It did not surprise me at all. I mean, I thought that this week that Travis just had a little bit more bounce in his step. Didn't get to see him as much around the locker room, but even just seeing some of his media appearances and everything, and just knowing that he had a couple of weeks and really almost 3 full weeks off. I mean, I figured we were going to see playoff Travis, and we saw playoff Travis. I mean, I had a couple of conversations this week when, talking about, hey, who was going to be the leading pass catcher for the Chiefs, and it was just like, hey, take Travis off the table. I mean, he's probably going to be the guy. So it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, this guy lives for the playoffs. I mean, I would now say, hey, if next year, hey, if Travis only wants to play half a season, come in and after the trade deadline, just play half a year. I mean, but frankly, if he gets to be 40, I would just say, hey, Travis, you want to come in December? Great. This guy, I mean, he just lives for this time of year.
Now, was it concerning to you whatsoever that guys like Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins and Justin Watson didn't get really involved, or did it kind of all work out because Travis Kelce was able to have that explosion for 117 yards?
I mean, there should be definitely concerns. I mean, you had one wide receiver who caught a pass, and technically, I mean, on at least in the box score. I mean, I know Hollywood Brown had one wiped out by a penalty. I think he had another one that was probably wiped out by the officials. That's a concern. I mean, this is not very Mahomes-like. Normally, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes completed passes to 11 different pass catchers. You only had 4 guys today, and only one of them was a wide receiver. That's a concern going forward. I mean, you were able to win it today because you had a complete game from your defense, you had a complete game from your special teams, and your offense was at least somewhat timely, not completely. I mean, they missed a couple of opportunities, but at least they made the plays that they needed to. But, I mean, normally, no. I mean, if all you have is just one guy going off and 3 others that are just, also participating, not normally enough to get it done. But the Chiefs, the special teams had some of those hidden yards, and the defense got things done. But I don't think that this offensive performance, and especially from the pass catchers, I don't think it's going to be good enough next week.
We're talking with Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com here on the Red and Gold Postgame Show. Speaking of officials, the Houston Texans, Will Anderson Jr., D'Amico Ryans, definitely not shying away from bringing up officials and feeling like it was us against the refs in this game against Kansas City. Look, Matt, it's been a talking point all season long, right? After every Chiefs game, if you go on social media, there is talk about officials, but do the Texans have a legitimate gripe today because of some of those controversial personal foul calls on Patrick Mahomes, or is this kind of a bad look to do after losing that game in which you got sacked 8 times and you missed 3 kicks?
I mean, I think it's a bad look. I mean, I when I think about egregious calls, I think about like Chris Jones getting called for roughing the passer on Tom Brady when he hit him in the shoulder and just missed his helmet completely. That's a bad call. By the letter of the rule, both of these were penalties. I mean, were one or both of them ones that the officials should have or could have let go? Maybe. But, hey, it's forcible contact to the helmet of the quarterback is almost always going to get you in trouble. And the first one, I mean, face mask to face mask, that's contact. That's forcible contact to the helmet. That's in the rules. So that's a penalty. If the second one, I know that the Texans were upset about was the slide, and it looked like the 2 defensive players hit themselves more than they hit Mahomes. But again, I mean, there was contact to Mahomes' helmet by one of them. So by the rule of the law, and once again, I mean, if you try to hit a quarterback as they're sliding, you're kind of giving up all reason to complain. I mean, were they borderline calls? Yes. I mean, were they phantom calls? No. I mean, there was a legitimacy to them. Could the officials let it slide? Yeah, but I don't think that those were egregiously bad calls by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it comes off to me a little bit like sour grapes.
Mm-hmm. Well, you take away what the Chiefs did defensively then. I mean, if you want to bring up officials, we're just not going to be talking about the pass rush. Kansas City had in this game 8 sacks, and 3 of those coming from George Karlaftis. Do you feel like that was the best game of his career? I mean, it's pretty hard to top 3 sacks in the postseason, but it was almost the way he was getting the sacks. He's winning these one-on-ones. He even got doubled, almost got chipped on one of the plays by Joe Mixon, but still was able to get the sack. In my opinion, Matt, I think that's the best George Karlaftis has ever looked.
I think you're right, and I think he had 5 total tackles. So in addition to the sacks, he had a couple of other plays, and I know one of them was absolutely was chasing the quarterback out of bounds. So I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, this was furious George at his best. It actually almost reminded me a little bit about how we talk about Mike Dana sometimes, because he was relentless. I mean, that was the biggest part of a lot of those sacks and a lot of those pressures that he was creating. It wasn't just that he was dominating and getting there in 2.5 seconds, although I think he had a couple of those as well. It was just that he was relentless. I mean, he just continued. Stroud was running around a lot, and it always seemed like every single time that he took off, Karlaftis was in the neighborhood and right on his heels. So, yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, 3 sacks is incredible. I do think this is probably the best game of his career.
Last couple of questions for you, Matt. Really appreciate your time. Let's take a look into tomorrow night. The Ravens and the Bills. The Chiefs, of course, will get the winner of that game. Who should they want to see? I know these are 2 elite teams. They are playing fantastic football right now. I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you're hoping they just beat each other up and go into overtime and just exhaust everything for that game and then come out flat next week. But that seems like wishful thinking at this point. But for Kansas City and the matchup ahead, who should they want in the game for the AFC Championship game?
Yeah, you're right. I think you should probably be rooting for just a physical, exhausting game for both those teams, so that whoever comes out of it is just absolutely worn out. I tell you what, I got a little bit of a sense, even though, hey, all the Chiefs were saying the right thing as far as, hey, both those are good teams, we respect them, all those right things. There was at least a little bit of acknowledgement from some players that I talked to that they said, hey, there's one team in particular that they want to face. And even though they wouldn't say it, I'm pretty sure it's Baltimore. I mean, I think that they kind of want, I don't even want to say revenge, because that's not it. I mean, they've won their last 2 matchups in the last 12 months. But I think they just feel like there's unsettled business. And, some of the talk and the fact that, people question the win in week 1 and the likely catch and, all of these things that I think maybe they want to finish it off just to prove that they're better than the Ravens with a 3rd win in 12 months. But I tell you what, I mean, from a legacy standpoint, I think if the Chiefs could beat Buffalo on their way, if they're able to pull off the three-peat, that would allow the Chiefs to be able to say, hey, we beat every team on the schedule this year. There won't be anybody that played the Chiefs in the 2024 season that would have that the Chiefs didn't beat them at some point. So they lost the Broncos, lost the Bills, but they could also, if they played Buffalo and beat them, they'd have a win over both those teams too. So I think that'd be a nice little, at least, asterisk for the Chiefs, and they're building their legacy if they are able to pull off the three-peat.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, wouldn't that be the 4th fall for the Buffalo Bills to the Chiefs in the postseason if they were to lose the AFC Championship?
I believe you are correct. And so that would start catching up with, some of those playoff losses the Chiefs had in the 90s. They finally have put those to bed.
Last one here for you, Matt. Now, I know that as we are speaking, I mean, it's halftime in this wild shootout between the Commanders and Lions. Washington up by 10, 31-21. Tell me what your reaction would be if the top-seeded Lions go down in the divisional round this year.
It would be really surprising. I mean, because the Lions have been so good the last couple of years, and to get knocked out both times, I mean, that would hurt, and especially for Detroit. I mean, you kind of really want to root for them a little bit, and Dan Campbell seems like a fun coach to root for, and they don't really have anybody that you hate on that team. I mean, there's a lot to like about the Lions, but I will say this: my one bold prediction for the playoffs was that it would not surprise me if the Washington Commanders lost in the wild card round. It would not have surprised me if the Washington Commanders win the Super Bowl. I mean, they had just the absolute widest range of possible outcomes because they're just so unpredictable. I mean, they've got a quarterback that if he's on, I just and good grief. I mean, you start thinking about it. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we're way from it. But a Patrick Mahomes, Jaden Daniels Super Bowl, my goodness, the hype would be out of control.
Certainly would. Well, Matt, appreciate your time as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great, Jack. Take care, my friend. Stay warm.
Same to you. Same to you. There he goes. That's Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. We're going to take our final break of the show. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. The magic of Mahomes, an unbelievable touchdown pass to Travis Kelce. That is always and was always going to be the magic of Mahomes, which is brought to you by Westlake Commercial. A division of Westlake Ace Hardware is your local business-to-business supply partner. Our commercial team dedicated business-to-business website. Credit terms and convenience store locations make it easy. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware store or www.westlakehardware.com/commercial today. Chiefs get it done once again in the divisional round. They are undefeated in the Patrick Mahomes era. In the divisional round, they'll move on to their 7th consecutive AFC title game, where they're going to be awaiting the winner of the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. They will kick off tomorrow night. I'm sure everybody will be occupied. Make sure your schedule's cleared because you're not going to want to miss that game. Also, enjoy the afternoon with the Eagles and the Rams. That'll kick off at 2, but Ravens and Bills will kick off at 5:30. Kansas City 23, Houston 14. They're moving on. We'll have plenty of talk all week long on Sports Radio 810 WHB, but you have a good night, Kansas City. We'll talk to you next week.